Back pain movement makers. And today is the sixth habit. It's day 39, and we're talking about the sixth habit of the 10 daily holistic healing habits channeled from the highest consciousness through me, Mona. And we are talking about consuming healthy, nutritious food every day and throughout the day. And today we are going to be focusing on what Cleanse to Heal, medical medium Anthony Willam is talking about when he is talking about food to avoid. Okay. Spirit of compassion is the source that medical medium he has channeled, and the if you haven't heard about this before, it was Anthony William that started to drink celery juice in the morning. And a lot of thousands and thousands of people have healed because of his recommendations. And he is talking about that people all over the world have health problems, but most of the doctors, they are treating the symptoms, not the cause. And for example, he is talking about Epstein-Barr virus, and he is talking about a lot of health issues that, for example, rheumatism is a symptom of Epstein-Barr virus infection. And I believe that I have that, and I also believe that my mom has that too. And here, for example, I'm 49, and they are talking about women's menopause, and the doctors and most of us also believe that women have menopause problems like sweating, like headaches and things like that. But Anthony William, he suggests that this is not the case. It's just a coincidence that the menopause happens at the same time that women get these symptoms. But the symptoms are not from menopause. They are from that we are having poison in our bodies, and also that we are having bugs and other things in our bodies that makes them ill. It's not the menopause itself. So for today, yesterday I said that now I'm going to mention some foods to avoid if you want to heal for good. And he calls them the troublemaker foods. And the first thing that we should avoid if we want to heal, according to medical medium, is eggs. That is the first thing. It says in the book, truth is that I go back to read the sentence above. We think eggs are a great protein source. Eggs have been married to the word protein on purpose as a marketing strategy. Truth is, the proteins in eggs feed viruses, unproductive bacteria, and fungus because that protein was used in labs long ago as a food that viruses and other pathogens were trained to consume. When we think egg protein is good for us, we have to realize that we cook our eggs, destroying and denaturing the protein so our bodies can't utilize it anyways. Anyway, we often hear that the omega-3 in eggs is good for us. That gets destroyed once an egg is cooked too. And while we can use raw egg protein, it still feeds the pathogens that keep us sick. So that cancels out the benefits. So, and I have not been eating eggs for, I think, 2 years now, and I don't miss them at all. If I compare that to the pain I'm in when I'm eating them, then well, I wouldn't go back. Then so that was eggs. You should avoid eggs, and then it's dairy. And as I said the other day, that when I eat dairy, I get so much pain in my joints that I could hardly walk. And the elbows, my wrists, every joint in my hands, my feet, it's awful. He says about dairy. Dairy clogs up the digestive freeway, allowing pathogens to thrive in our small intestinal tract and colon that shouldn't. Once such an un, once such as unproductive funguses, molds, bacteria, and viruses. Because dairy doesn't break down, digest, or leave the system easily, it smothers critical oxygen. When dairy finally does get broken down and drawn through the intestinal tract walls into the liver via the hepatic portal vein, I hope I pronounced that correctly. It slows down liver function, making the organ stagnant and sluggish in an immediate, acute manner. This leads mucus to form. When your body's filter, your liver, becomes clogged, all of the toxins that escape your liver as a result and enter your body increase histamine compounds, which feed and form more mucus. So I don't eat dairy at all. No, never, never again since before last Christmas. It was awful. And then we should also, except for eggs, dairy, and then it comes gluten. Here's the truth. Gluten feeds pathogens. The very viruses that create autoimmune conditions thrive on gluten. That's what causes inflammation. It's not the other way around with gluten triggering inflammation that triggers an autoimmune response in the body. It's gluten feeding bugs that lead to inflammation in the body as the immune system tries to eradicate them. Keep in mind that medical research and science still don't know this. There are only two causes of inflammation: one, physical injury by force or toxic exposure, and two, pathogenic activity in the body. Pathogens can cause inflammation either by entering organs or tissue, which can cause its own kind of cell injury, or by feeding on certain troublemakers and troublemaker foods in the system and eliminating inflammatory poisons and byproducts. A food such as gluten cannot itself cause inflammation. Instead, it feeds the pathogens that can cause inflammation. This is why so many people, especially from older generation, can eat gluten and not get inflamed. In order for inflammation to occur, they need certain pathogens present in the body to feed on the food. It's pathogens such as viruses, not gluten, that are the true cause of celiac disease. I don't eat gluten either. And then soft drinks. And I never drink soft drinks. Whether you call it soda soft drinks or pop, it's not good for any kind of cleanse. Many soft drinks and flavored carbonated waters come in aluminum cans, and aluminum is something you're trying to detoxify during a cleanse, not something you want to add to your body at the same time. Soft drinks also frequently contain aspartame. I have no idea how you pronounce it. I'm really sorry for this. High fructose corn syrup flavoring and carbonation, which even if you're not drinking out of a can, still cause problems. And then excessive salt. Salt preserves toxins and poisons inside the body. It holds on to them and concentrates them in our organ tissue, pushing critically needed water away from organs, and making us more dehydrated at the same time that water pools and gets retained in areas that aren't helpful. When we're dehydrated, it's nearly impossible to cleanse. And as it is, most people have already been chronically dehydrated on a daily basis for years. Further, salt disrupts the body's immune system by removing water from our natural killer cells, interfering with their ability to seek out and destroy pathogens. When I began to study his teachings, first of all, 1 liter almost, uh, we drink 1 liter every morning with lemon juice before we eat anything else or drink anything else in the morning. And then, Tom, weigh around 60 kilograms, so I should drink at least 2 liters of water throughout the day. And first, when I began to do this, I had to go to the bathroom a lot. But now I don't have that problem. But also, I get headaches very easily if I skip the water intake. So I really need that. And compared to a lot of my colleagues, they don't go to the bathroom that often. And I really do have to do that, but I'm also not tired in the afternoon as they are. So, and if you drink caffeine, you have to drink even more water. It could be a problem in the beginning when you start to consume a lot of water, but the problem goes away. The body starts to function and takes care of it a lot better than before. Okay, so those were the level 1: eggs, dairy, gluten, soft drink, and be mindful about salt consumption. Then they have level 2, and it's pork. Blood thickened by pork fat is so hard on the pancreas, pushing the gland to labor so much by spilling many months' worth of its reserves of insulin and enzymes to prevent calamity. Why? Because most everyone ends up eating a sugar pretty close to the timeline to eating pork, if not right alongside it, whether that sugar comes in the form of barbecue sauce, bread, or dessert. So while the high level of fat from the pork is still in our bloodstream, the pancreas is releasing insulin to handle the high level of sugar, and it's that fat getting in the way of the sugar that puts the pancreas on overload to save us with months worth of insulin and enzyme reserves in one day. The pancreas can finally reach a point of exhaustion in this process. It has often landed people in the hospital overnight with cases of pancreatitis without anyone knowing that's the real cause. Okay. Tuna, I don't eat pork. I don't eat meat at all. I just eat fish. Then tuna. Consider keeping tuna out of your life entirely while you're trying to heal. If you love seafood, if that's where your heart is, maybe rely on some other fishes that are lower in mercury, while keeping in mind that all fish has some level of toxic heavy metals. Try to keep away from tuna. And then also corn. Even if corn was grown without synthetic pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides sprayed on it, it doesn't ensure it's not genetically modified or GMO contaminated. That's the reality we're living with today. Uh, And also, another reality is that the pathogens that reside inside our bodies are so used to feeding on sources of conventional GMO corn from different times and occasions in our lives, because GMO corn was used to raise pathogens in labs over the more recent decades, that these pathogens can develop an appetite for corn. Bugs such as EBV, Epstein-Barr virus, and shingles, because they've been trained to feed on unproductive conventional corn from our previous corn meals and snacks, will readily attempt to fuel themselves from organic corn too. Okay, so these things we don't eat at all, Thomas and I. Unfortunately, our kids, we didn't know this when our kids were young, and they eat some of these foods, and it's hard to get them to change their minds. They are we are trying to give them alternatives, but sometimes we fail, and they don't eat eggs. They eat dairy. We try to keep them away from gluten, but we try to keep them away from bread. That is better, but sometimes they go back to wanting bread. Um, they don't drink soft drinks more than once a month. And of course, we are mindful about the salt consumption. They don't eat tuna, and they eat corn. And I have been eating popcorn like once a month. But now I've tried to stay away from it. And then I went back to eat popcorn, because popcorn is really, really good when we have a movie night. But I've noticed it's not very good. I get pain, not that much, but I feel more stiff in my joints, and I have some days after I have eaten that, it's coming back, not like pain, but stiffness, and some movements hurt. So I have to give that up also. But that's a choice. That's a choice that I gladly make, because I don't want to end up uh, the way my mother is, with her medication and the pain that she is having every single day. Okay, tomorrow I'm going to channel the highest consciousness on our personal roadblocks to begin to consume healthy foods and beverages. So tomorrow it's time for you to have a notepad and a pen or pencil, and write down your personal answers to the questions that the highest consciousness is going to give us. So that's everything for today. And if you know someone that will benefit, well, you know what to do. Have a lovely day, morning, evening, night, wherever you are. Bye.